I'm Brendan Wyatt with the Voice of C38. Today we're going to be chatting with Pablo and getting his thoughts about the preseason, the off-season, and the regular season.
In the off-season, I spent a lot of time reflecting on a couple different things. One of them being the culture that I wanted in the locker room. And I think knowing that we were going to have this much turnover, that it was going to be a player-led culture, a player-owned culture, and a coach-guided culture. And I think in the previous 2 years, a combination of the players not taking enough responsibility and maybe me not giving them enough responsibility. And I felt like with the players that we're bringing in, it would be foolish to not have this caliber of player not own it. With the addition of guys like Papa, Gashi, and bringing back a good core group of players, Kevin Doyle being with us for the start of preseason, the shape of the team and the makeup of the team is completely different. And I think having been talking about culture and on a daily basis from January 22nd, I feel like it, in a natural way, very organic way, has kind of taken shape, and these guys have really bonded well, and the camaraderie amongst the group has been fantastic in the preseason. The experienced guys on a daily basis pulling the young guys aside and really talking to them about the game. Even Gashi just coming into the group, having words with guys like Baji and Serna, and talking to them about the game. And I think as a manager, this is something I've been craving. Something that I think is important to have any type of success is that the players have to take the responsibility both on and off the field. And you have to create an environment as a coach and as a coaching staff that allows for that. And I think, going into my third year as a coach, I've learned a lot about, my identity as a coach, the way we want to play, my style of play. There's a lot of things that go into it. So just to make a long answer shorter, I think it's evolved in a nice way, and I think it'll still take some time, but I'm really optimistic about what I see, and I think we're prepared to confront a San Jose team this Sunday. Yeah, I think it was. I think I felt like I was a player that could take on that type of responsibility, and that I wanted to own it. I think it's got to be the right environment, and there's got to be a sense of trust. And I think because of all the turnover, whether it's players or coaches over the course of the last 6 years here at the club, I think inherently it doesn't breed a lot of trust. And so identifying that and saying, we want to change, some of the things in the locker room and make it a place of, make it sacred for the players. I'd put up walls in there, delineating the coaches' hallway, and understanding that when we open those doors, we're now in their space. And so again, trying to make little changes that I think will go a long way from that cultural perspective. But like I said, the players have given everything in the preseason, and I think a lot of that has to do with the way they feel about the way things are going. And I think in any relationship, the foundation of it is trust, and you sink or swim with it. And there's no need to live life with your brakes on, and there's definitely no need to coach with the brakes on. And I think if you want to maximize the output of every individual, whether you're a staff member or whether you're a player, the best idea is to bring in people that will mesh well with your mentality, and two, that you have complete trust in. And then the rest you leave up to the universe and life, and if they go your way, great, and if they don't, I still think it's the right decision, because at the end of the day, it's a human endeavor, it's an emotional endeavor, and anytime you try to pull the reins on and try to control things in life, as we all know, you end up going down a slippery slope. So, like I said, I feel like we have players in that clubhouse that have not only played at a high level, but want the responsibility of leading this group in a direction that we haven't gone in many years. Well, what I've learned in my short 2 years is, and it goes back to this control thing. You try to hold on, and you try to do a lot of things, and you try to control the uncontrollables, and you waste a lot of energy, and you could be focusing and kind of steering that energy towards things that are under your control. I feel like, again, what we haven't had in the last 6 years in this clubhouse has been a culture that permeates throughout. That is a culture that helps to help shape an identity on the field as well. And I think back in 2010, you could have said, man, that Colorado Rapids team, it's a hard team to play against. They're very staunch defensively. They don't give anything up, and they'll beat you up top with two guys that are very dynamic in the attack. Since then, year after year, it's been really unidentifiable as far as a style of play. And so I think that if you have a strong culture, and you have to win in order to establish a strong culture, and then more importantly is the style of play, making sure that that becomes, when you play at the Colorado Rapids, you go, this is what we're going to get. And we have to actually be better at what we do than them at what they do. Once you get this and you get results and you win, now you establish a culture. So then those uncontrollables don't become so significant. And that's the only way I can explain it in a way that I've been able to process. And trust me, I spent a whole off season and locked in a room going through all these different things and saying, this is a very important year for the club. It may be the most important year for the club. The amount of money that we're investing in these players, the type of players that we're bringing in, the style of play that we want to be front and center of everything we do, the culture in the locker room. It's a make or break year for us, and I think everyone upstairs has gone all in as well, and we're doing this because we feel it's the best way to move this club forward. And so, as a coach, you'll always have a million reasons to make excuses, but that's something that I've set out this year, that it's not about making excuses. It's about putting your best foot forward from your experiences, building the team in the mold of which the club ethos sticks out, and then the mentality of the coach and the way we want to play, and align that with the kind of players that we have, and go for it and make no excuses. I've seen a noticeable difference in the way our shooting sessions go. And to be honest with you, it's night and day. And I think what everyone knows about football is once you build a good group behind the ball, the most important players are the guys that put the ball in the back of the net. And it's the chicken and the egg, because the guys that score goals are also the guys that take the pressure off the guys in the back. And so they defend with their attacking, so to speak. And I think, witnessing Kevin's form in preseason, Gashi coming in for 10 days and just his ability to strike, from distance has been fantastic. His awareness of the game to make the players around him better. And I think that a lot of that goes unnoticed. When you bring in quality players, they raise the bar for everyone around them. And then obviously Marco Papa's, I think, we've had a lot of conversation, him and I, and I think this could be the best year of his career. We've talked about it. I think he's an integral part of everything we do. He's played half an hour with our group this year, coming back from a difficult situation. But he's got talent that is on par with any great player in this league. And it's about maximizing that talent and putting it in a way that, like I said, makes the players around him better. And he's been fantastic. And so Gashi, Papa, Kevin, Powers has come back in a different way as well, really taken on to an off-season plan that we put together for him, and he's been playing exceptional. And so there's no, like I said, there's not going to be any excuses that we don't have enough firepower to score goals. And at the end of the day, the game of football, like any other sport, it's about making plays. It's about making plays. It's not about potential. It's about getting it done when those opportunities come in the game. And I think we have, again, the type of talent and the type of character to get that done. Yeah, I mean, again, if you're asking me from a idealistic perspective against zero opponent that isn't trying to thwart what we're trying to achieve,
Sure.
I would say we want to build out of the back.
Okay.
We want to be patient, but looking for the opportunities to move the ball in a north-south, in a direction towards our opponent's goal. We want to get our outside backs in more involved in the attack than we have in years past. And and then from there, it's dynamic. It could be with these kind of players in these attacking positions, we've there's unlimited options once we get in the attacking third. And what I've said to them is, we'll put a schematic together to get to the final third. From there, this is where these guys come into play, and they make the game. And so we talk about getting service from wide areas, combination plays essentially, combination play essentially to get to the other side to get service in. And so I think in the preseason, which was very optimistic for me, was seeing the different variety of goals that we scored. There was some from outside the box. There were some from crosses. There were some from set pieces. Against Arizona, there's some good combination play that found Doyle inside the area. So that part of it, the defensive part, the mentality part is, getting after the ball whenever we lose it. And I think we've done a good job in these games of really dictating the play on our terms, as far as suffocating the team at times by being able to win the ball back quickly. And then for the front guys, pressing a little bit higher and finding ways to win the ball higher up the field. And I think we did a good job of that in the preseason as well. So all in all, I think it's going to be a much more entertaining brand. But again, I think it all starts with the people the personnel that you have. You can talk idealistically about this is how I want to play. I want to play like Barcelona. But if you don't have Xavi, Iniesta, Neymar, and Suarez, and Messi, you're gonna have a hard time playing like Barcelona. And so, it's not gonna look like anything like that. It's gonna look like our way. But like I said, we put together some really exciting stuff, and I think that at the end of the day, a couple good results early, some wins, will really move this style of play in the direction that we want. But we're going to San Jose to try to win games. The mentality from day one has been, let's get after it. Let's make mistakes. Let's react after we make mistakes. Let's make better decisions. We're going to make mistakes. Let's react better. Let's miss better. Let's attack better. So it's a really front foot, forward-thinking style of play. I think they've been really good. I think coming into this year, we didn't know exactly how it was going to look. In those positions, I think Marlon has been fantastic in the wide areas this year. I think Miller has come in and adjusted well, and I think Mikel is doing really well. I think he's got a bit of adjustment to go from the league he came from to the MLS, and I think that would be his biggest adjustment. But I think he's done fairly well, and I'm really excited about what all three of those guys, including Birch, bring to the table.
What kind of strides has Marlon made in playing right now?
He's been great, man. He's everything that as a coach. He goes off to Charlotte last year, and he's gone for 6 weeks, and then he goes away for another couple weeks, and I think he's at the bottom. He's as down as he can possibly go, thinking about his career. Comes back hungry, and I think he finished the year off with 3 good performances for us last year, and I think that motivated him to really attack the off season, and he came back in great shape. And to be honest, he's been a consistent, good performer in the preseason in all the games he's played. And like I said, we want to get these guys advanced in the attack, and I think he brings a lot of the qualities, if not all the qualities, that we're looking for in that position. Yeah, no, I think John influenced me more as a person than he did as a player. You know, I think at the end of the day, like I said earlier, this is a human endeavor. And, you know, for me, John gave me a call when I was picked in the dispersal draft to come to Colorado. He picked up the phone and called me. And that really meant a lot, you know. And he was the captain of the team at the time. And so when I got back, we sat and chatted a little bit about the team and, you know, how things were and how things ran around here, and, you know, had us over at the house. Just a really, really pleasant guy, and made me feel home coming to the club. Moving forward, as far as the soccer part, he was a guy that held himself to a very high standard. And, you know, I can recall times where we were playing small-sided games and he'd miss an easy goal and he'd get down and start doing push-ups. And for me, it was like I was thinking, we're about to lose this game that I really wanted to win. But after the fact, I understood what he was saying to everyone, is that, listen, as a captain of this team, I'm holding myself to this level, and this is the same expectations for all of you. And so I learned a lot about what it meant to be a good leader. And, you know, although he was very fiery and used his voice quite a bit, I think his greatest impressions for me were through his actions.
I noticed today Marco was out there. Looked like he was moving pretty good. He seems close, but maybe Sean not so much.
Sean's Ledger. Was he out there today? Yeah, no, he's been really struggling, and, you know, it's been a bit disappointing for him, for us, at the speed of recovery for him. You know, I think, you know, I can only imagine what it's like to go 6 weeks and not really participate in any of the team functions, being on the road for that long. And so for him, it's been a grueling last few weeks. But, you know, he's committed and steadfast into making sure that he gets back as soon as possible. And so making the necessary doctor visits and appointments and all that until he gets well. Yeah, I think, you know, it's the worst thing in sport is to sit and watch your teammates do something that is the only thing that you know to do. There's nothing else in a soccer player's world than playing soccer, and so to sit there and watch is one of the more difficult things. And I think initially with Papa, it was kind of the same, and then once he got on the field, he turned into a different player. You know, I think he's still a couple weeks away from full fitness, but every training session, every opportunity that we get to find minutes in games to get him up to speed is important for him, for us, for the group. He's a fantastic individual that has a lot to give and a lot to show, and just really excited about his progress.
I noticed you guys are going to San Jose on Thursday,
Yep.
a little early.
Mm-hmm.
Any particular reason? Just
Well, we made these plans a while back, and the idea was that, you know, March in Colorado brings all kinds of crazy weather, and what I didn't want to do is get stuck training on turf, you know, 4 of the 5 days, you know, before we headed out. And so precautionary plans, and unfortunately, fortunately, we'll be going to sunny weather anyway.
no big deal. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, that's right.
So, Pablo, what do you say to fans that are frustrated? You know, last year didn't go well. What would be your message if you could say?
To the fans, that, you know, I don't think there's anyone who's frustrated in this whole endeavor than myself. Being the only guy that hoists the trophy over my head as a captain, right? Knowing what it is to be on that side, and then leading the group to not get even close to that level. You know, I have a lot more conversations with myself that are, you know, obviously, I don't think there's anyone more reflective about their coaching situation in this league than myself either. You know, so with fans, I understand that they're frustrated, as they should be. But what I'd say is, there's not a day that goes by where everyone down here in the locker room, as far as the coaching staff, everyone upstairs, as far as the technical staff, isn't coming together and saying, what the hell are we doing? What direction are we going in? How are we going to get there? And so it's not, I know at times it may appear that we're just happy with the status quo. Everyone's just kind of happy sucking. but again, as a player, I reached the levels that I did, not because I was given anything. It's because I had to work my ass off to get to where I got. And trust me, I was one of the fewest guys that was given anything. So from that point, I understand the sense of frustration, but the one thing that I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say other than there's been an unbelievable amount of work going into 2016 with all the lessons learned of 2014 and 2015. And as a new coach, there should be a level of understanding that this is completely a foreign topic to me as a professional. In other words, playing soccer and coaching soccer have nothing to do with each other. I just understand the game. Coaching comes from the place of teaching, pedagogy, and how do you communicate that? How do you take 18 years of experience and then simplify it so that a kid coming out of college understands what you're talking about? And so I think that transition for me, this is where I come into this whole equation as far as the fans being upset, is understanding how to do this, and that only comes with time. Because my first year was basically like, what do you mean you can't do this? Because that's a soccer player coaching. You have to get a coach to coach. Soccer players can't coach. And this is the biggest problem with soccer players who coach, is because just watch me do it. Yeah, I'm watching you. I just can't do it. Right? So there's a natural evolution, say, into coaching, into teaching. There's a certain amount of empathy that has to go into this. There's a tremendous amount of self-reflection. There's no making excuses. It's not the organization. It's not the lack of players. It's simply a process that I must go through from a player to coach to become a better coach, a better manager, a better decision maker. And so for me, 2016 is where we're at. So for as much as everyone would like for me to apologize to the fans, I can't apologize for being new. I can't apologize for lack of experience. I can't apologize for these things because I don't have it. Now, if I was egregious in my decision making, if I was purposely trying to make terrible decisions, I would apologize. But what happened over the course of the last 2 years was a culmination of many things, the most probably being that it takes time to go from a soccer player to a coach, because soccer players cannot coach. And I want to reiterate that. Soccer players cannot coach. Only coaches can coach.
Do you see yourself in that transition?
Like I said, man, if there was one of those dark side of the moons where you're locking yourself in a room and you're writing, instead of writing music, I was just thinking about where I need to go. So I set off on this journey to England, spent some time at Arsenal, spent some time with Pochettino at Tottenham, which was unbelievable experience for me. And I went there in search of a lot of things. I went to Orlando for about a week, and I'm on this pilot course for the first Pro A license in U.S. soccer, right? So it's an equivalent to, they want to make it equivalent to UEFA A. And so we're doing this pilot course with 13 of my peers and a couple other U.S. soccer coaching staff members. So I went from that experience to that experience. And I learned a great deal again. Spent a lot of time with Peter Vermees and Ziggy Smith, guys that are coaches, right? And it was very interesting. The one-on-one conversations that I had with them was very, super insightful, but very eye-opening to me. In not thinking like a player, but thinking like a coach, right? And so after that, I went home to Phoenix for a couple weeks for Christmas, and again, didn't spend any time with the family. Spent time putting together a presentation as to how I was going to communicate the type of culture that I want into a PowerPoint presentation, right? And I did about 3 of those. And so then I got back here January 4th and, met with, Paul and Tim, and we gave them my presentation into all this, and to let them know that this is what I've done with my off season. This is all I've done with my off season. Haven't enjoyed any of it, but I've learned an incredible amount, right? And so from all this stuff, I've come to realize one thing: the coaching course, the presentations, England, the travels, the expectations that I had. I came back and I realized one thing, is that as a human, as a coach, you must speak and communicate from your authentic self, right? So there's no secrets out there. Life doesn't give you secrets. Pochettino does his thing. Arsene Wenger, the team right above or right below Tottenham, couldn't be completely different than Pochettino, but they're both so effective, and they're both winners, and they're both great coaches, and they have nothing alike. And so again, this idea that you have to learn what kind of coach you are, how to coach it, and then you have to be believable as well. So you have to coach from your authentic self. And so, to your point about, my point about not players can't coach and the coaches have to coach. That's a thing that you have to keep fine tuning and carving and niching away. And even from that point, I've made some changes in the way I want to approach it and the way I explain it to the players. Because sometimes when I explain it, it makes sense to me and the coaches, but it doesn't make sense to the players. And so then I go, right, because that's a bit more complex way of thinking. So let's take it down a notch and explain it that way. And so I think this is coaching, and I think that's why, when I went to Arsenal and I talked to Steve Bold for a while, who's the assistant coach there, and he says, well, what do you want to do with your career? I said, I want to be a great coach. He says, right, you better buy some great players. And he wasn't laughing. And it's the truth in pro sports, man. You have no time. You have to win. How do you win? Well, the same way all those other teams win. You don't see Pep Guardiola taking a Stoke City job. He never will. Never will. Never will. These guys don't do it because they want to win. So they go and get a team with great players.
Do you feel like you've got more pieces to the puzzle that you're trying to build?
No excuses, brother. This will be the most competitive team I think this club will put together in the history of the club when we're done. There's no excuses, man. There's no.
I love your confidence.
There's no. Again, there's no one that reflects upon their performances more than myself. And so to the fans and everything, just understand that you have a guy at the helm that doesn't sleep when he loses, doesn't sleep when he wins, spends very little time with my family. As a matter of fact, I kept my kids out of school yesterday and took them to Dave & Buster's. We left at 8 in the morning. We didn't get back till 8 at night, and we did a lot of stuff in between because I realized that if I keep going down this track, I'll probably end up dying on the sidelines before it's all said and done. So that's who the fans have as their coach, a guy that's committed to learning, committed to getting better, and is a winner, will always be a winner, and has to find a way this year to make it happen for himself, for the club, for the players, for the fans.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Thanks, Bob.